What's up? Welcome to the Key to Success. Something happened, and all of a sudden, I lost Ed. So let's go back in, and we'll. Let's see if we can get Ed
All
back.
right, we back. We back. We back.
Okay, was
Yeah, I don't.
that my connection or you?
I think it may have been yours, but whatever. I
Okay.
I caught I caught up until where did we meet? Right.
Okay, so like first of all, because now I had to redo it. Everybody, welcome Ed Napper, philosopher, insane brain, one of the most amazing people that I know.
Oh,
And
come
thank you for no, that's easily roses
on.
thrown at you.
Come on,
Every time I
man.
see you, we have the most intense conversations. But I thank you for doing this, and
Yeah, man, of
it's
course.
just it's amazing. I know like people are just gonna be left with like all dropping gems as I am always.
It's
So
possible.
yes, the only question that I have, and like I said, it's an open conversation. I love when you ask me questions and challenge me. So jump in.
Yeah,
But the only question I have is, where did we meet?
we met uptown in Harlem. We,
Yes,
we we were hanging out up on 122nd and Lenox Avenue during the pandemic, I believe, right? Like
it
that was
was
like,
COVID. Yes, yes,
yeah,
we were
when everybody,
safe.
yeah, we were social distancing.
We were so distanced and so close.
Yeah, I don't know how we pulled this thing off, man. But yeah, so we met up around that time, and I think like
Yeah,
I don't know, we were like it was a time where we were just hanging out weekly, right?
yeah. It became like a routine. We would shout out to Lou at Harlem
Yeah, yeah,
Haberdashery.
yes,
And it literally it solved a lot of just like what the pandemic was about, like just like connections. And we would literally get frosés,
yep,
smoke, and just
yep,
be out on the stoop on Lennox,
yep,
just having
yep.
something. And I remember the first time you pulled up, and we're all like chopping it up on the stoop. Who the fuck is this, like pulling up on the low block like that? You coming down with the muscle, like with the little shoulder. It's warm outside. You know, you got your little shit on. So we like, okay, Ed. Like, I'm like, who the fuck is bro? Like, and everybody's like, that's Ed. So then it was like, it was mad chill. And
Yeah,
I don't even remember what, but like, we got into one of the most amazing conversations on the stoop that was just like the one of a million.
yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah,
was just sitting there like the whole time we're all talking. Like, I'm a very opinionated, open person. But
right,
every time you would talk, I'm
yeah.
like sitting there, like just stuck. So, like, when did you dive into just the immersion of knowledge? Like, when did that start for you?
Um, I'll say like most recently, it was about maybe 5 years ago. I
Really,
just
recently?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like 5 years ago. I mean, obviously, like throughout our lives, we're always like acquiring, new knowledge and all the rest of that, and letting go of whatever doesn't work and all these things. Like, but it was more intense for me, or more concentrated and intentional, like 5 years ago. I was just like,
Did
it wasn't
something
even really
happen?
anything.
Did something happen like 5 years ago?
So that's the thing,
What?
right? It was like everything was going really well, right? You know,
The start of
like,
every great movie.
yo, everything was going really well. Like, work was going well, relationships were going really well. Like, things were great, and that is essentially what was bothering me at the time, right? Because it was like nothing was wrong.
But
Like it was weird. Like nothing was wrong, and I was just like, this doesn't even feel like real life. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not feeling challenged. I'm not. There's really no way to like, figure out whether or not I'm in the space that I'm supposed to be.
like, you felt
Like,
like you were in a hamster wheel.
yeah, I was just super comfortable. You know what I'm saying? And I was sharing this with a couple of friends at the time, and this one friend was like, you know what? I'm gonna take you. I'm gonna connect you with another guy. He was a spiritual teacher, who was based in New Jersey. Shout out to Saint Nick. He changed my life, and he passed away last year. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, yeah, I miss him. But so this was like, this was this highly connected and aware, older white man who had been through the ringer. You
Just
know what I'm
life.
saying? Yeah, yeah, he had been through the ringer, but he had these incredible spiritual gifts where he could communicate, with the other realms and beyond. And he told
Mm.
me things that day in a way that I could understand it. Um, that there was just no way he could have known them. You know what I'm saying?
One
And
of those like there's just no, you can't make do of it any way.
nah,
I've had one of
nah.
those. I've had
Yeah,
one of
it's like
those.
there's no way, it's just like there's no way. Like there's no way anybody could have told this person this, and there's no way he could have known that I was dealing with all these questions. Like he knew exactly what it was. So I sat with him. That was probably like 2 hours, and he invited me, to stay in his circle. He gave me some things, and from there, I left, and I was just like, "Whoa!" Like, all right, cool. That was kind of crazy, and and I don't know how to support that. You
Were
see
you
what I mean?
skeptical?
No, I was not skeptical. I think
Oh,
that's one of the things that you and I, and also others as well, but specifically you and I, besides our like Virgo connection, um, um, I'm always
shout out
open.
to the Virgos.
Right? Like, so I'm always open. Like, I'm always going to listen, and I
Yeah, we're
always,
sponges. We're
yeah,
sponges.
right, right. I need that information. I need that blessing. I need that experience. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And like I said, like the guy, there were things that he told me, like about my father. My father's been dead for 30 years.
Mm.
Like, there's no way he could have known this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, but the thing is, when I got back, and this is a problem like a lot of us run into as well, like you have these experiences and they shift your perspective. You don't look at things the same, but okay, how do you support that? Now what?
Yeah, it's like now
You
you
know?
feel like you're literally left out with everything's been stripped away,
Yeah,
and then you're like, now what do I do? But
yeah.
do you feel like it's kind of primal though?
Um,
It's in
I
a
I don't
way.
know. I'll say in a way, primal for sure, but it is a stripping. Like I always say, like the spirituality is a descension theory, right? Like we're going deeper and deeper into ourselves, and in order to get to that point, we got to strip away all the garbage we put on or we've accepted, from
Yeah.
others or societal norms or whatever that is. So you're gonna meet some people that can just literally cut directly through all of that and bring it into your conscious awareness. And that's what this guy did for me, you know?
How much of a transition was that for you? Like, I mean, I don't know you previously to this life, but only you do. But like, whatever you would want to share, like, how much of a shift was it
Oh,
for
it
you?
was it was massive. It was the thing that I was looking for that I didn't have answers. It was a thing I didn't know I needed at the time.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it opened up a thing, and I knew I was on the right path. And for me, that kind of like that like alleviated the uncomfortability or the lack of fulfillment that I was feeling during that really great time. Because
Yeah,
every is different when everything is going right. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
But I love when how you opened with that because it was just like in that everything's going right. You're literally sitting there like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
you're almost on edge and creating an anxiety
yeah,
from the peace of it all
yeah,
because it's like
yeah.
we're so conditioned to just like insanity and trying to go through this. So like now that you when you went through that and you kind of like reintroduce yourself
Right.
to like the world, what was the first what was the first kind of stage like? What was that?
So after that,
I'm if you don't know, I'm building
yeah,
you up to like
yeah,
hey,
yeah, for
yeah, because
sure.
like I'm intrigued
Wherever
by
we
this
going.
also. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna go wherever. So after that, they say the thing like there's a saying, when a student is ready, the teacher appears. So it literally happened like that. Like he appeared, and then I was receptive to his gift, and that opened up a whole different perspective. Like my vision had changed. So I was able
Yeah.
to see all these opportunities that like weren't there before, but they were opportunities to learn more. They were
Mm.
opportunities to sort of reinforce, my true essence. So
Yeah.
that came in the form of um, like some self-help programs, executive leadership programs that I was getting invited to. Like the timing happened just like that.
Oh
And
wow.
I was in these programs, these curriculums for living, and I wanted to know more.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where I was like, okay, cool, where can I find these books? So I was doing my independent study while going through this curriculum for living, and I was also a trainer nutritionist with a full client load. So what
Uh,
was happening is
wow, but
I,
that's a great marriage though, in a
yeah,
weird
this is what I'm
way.
saying. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So real time, I was able to communicate everything that I was experiencing and learning. So I was getting these models throughout the whole time, and that's
Yeah.
that's what was crazy about the timing for all of this stuff. So and listen, it was very challenging as well too, because the more you see, the more responsible you have to be. You know, the the
Yeah.
the, the more you sort of commit to taking a high road, like the more challenges are going to come in order to obviously cement that commitment within yourself, right? Because that's you ask for the thing, and then you get the test so that you can create it or so that you can
Yeah.
prove
And
it,
then it
you
becomes
know?
tricky. Yeah, because
And
now
then
you're there. Now you're
now
here.
you do. Yeah, yeah,
So wait,
yeah.
so like, so, but you mentioned that like everything was going well. So like, once this happened, did anything change? Like, was everything still just going well, and you were looking at it in a different way, or
Right. So that was
did
the
you
thing,
all
right?
of a
Like
sudden realize that things might not have been going as well, or like,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's a great question.
that's what I do.
Yes,
That's what I do.
yes. He opened up the perspective. So looking back at that time, I was living way smaller than I was supposed to, and
Ah,
that was the uncomfortability, right? You could check all the boxes, right? But these are only boxes that were given to you. Like
yeah.
these are only
It's
societal
options
norms.
almost. It's almost
Yeah,
options.
yeah. So they're like, you know what? You're supposed to have this. You're supposed to have this. You're supposed to have this, and you sort of go along with that, and you get it, and it's like, okay, cool. Like now what? So you can get caught in that thing, and you're gonna have an internal feeling like some dialogue is gonna be screaming that
Is it
like, hey, you need to.
uncomfortable?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
100%. 100%. Most folks won't admit it, but that uncomfortableness is it's gonna come,
I,
you
I,
know.
sw- I swear whenever like I'm on your page or something, I just like your page is one of those you can just dive in, just go scroll down,
Thank you,
find a
brother.
post and read
Thank
the
you, brother.
comment. But it's like that vulnerability of you like always jumps through. Like it
Brother.
always jumps through. Like even like you talk about like yes, it's uncomfortable. Like
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like to be honest, like when you because you don't just grow. You know what I'm saying? Like that this requires awareness and it requires action, but also is work, and that's intimidating.
Yeah.
It's easy to just go, to evade the reality and just go with the flow until you die.
What
But
was what
that
was one of the hardest things for you to like kind of shake?
the hardest thing for me to shake was that I didn't know it all.
You
You
thought
know?
you did, that's that Virgo shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't know it
We
all.
are
Like,
like we have this innate motto like I'm just trying to help.
yeah,
It's
yeah. It's crazy. It's super crazy. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? But I just
Super
like that.
crazy.
It's super crazy, man. Like just the thought, like. But that was one of the more difficult things to let go of. Is I had no idea what I was doing, what my life was supposed to be, or anything. What happiness was for me, like none of it. I was not an individual,
Mm.
right?
You felt
So
like explain you weren't an individual.
Well, if you are a slave to societal norms, then your individuality is dormant. It's not.
That makes
It's not.
sense.
It's
It's
not
not
living.
you.
No, it's not me. It's what everybody says you're supposed to be if you have X, Y, Z. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So living like that is 24/7 uncomfortable. Even though, like from the outside looking in, folks might think you are great.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you checked all the societal boxes. You know,
Yeah.
you're a great little robot.
It's
You know,
almost an amazing dance that a lot of us have just like mastered to literally engage with society sometimes.
yeah, it's crazy. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm really glad that we're living in these times. Like we're living in these transformative times where people are like, no, like this is, I don't care. I'm not, I'm not conforming to this thing. And you're
Yeah.
seeing more and more and more and more and more people come out with that energy. You know what I'm saying?
What was the what do you feel like was like one of the most enlightening things?
Oh, one of the most enlightening things is that there's no there's no limit, like there's no cap to how high your mind can take you. You know, it's like it's literally it's infinite,
Yeah.
right? You can
There's
just
always
all
something to
you
learn.
always
There's always a
always
challenge. There's always there's always another level that you can go to with where you're comfortable.
yeah, and that precedes the material manifestation. So it's like wow, if you the man that built the space rocket, like he had already envisioned like touching the planets, like he was already talking about it to his people, and people were looking at him like he was nuts, and then the thing happened. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing with us, like in our everyday lives, like you can open up your perspective so big
Hmm.
that it doesn't fit your life, and then you immediately got to start doing the work to bring that perspective into the real life, like
To
you're
put it
building.
into actual action.
Yeah. So that for me, that was a big realization, because once you get that, you're unstoppable, like you just can't lose. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
It's
So
almost like
that
a armor that you have of
yo
it's reception. It's like it's receptive in a sense that it's almost fragile, but it's very resistant to things that you know aren't of you
right right
in a
right
way.
right
Yeah.
right so that
That makes total sense.
yeah, it's crazy.
When did you fall for your love of Baldwin and everything Baldwin?
Oh man, you know what? I was I want to say 3 years ago. Like I
Oh, so
really got
that's even recent.
yeah. A lot of this stuff is recent because
Yeah.
um you know
I was literally hearing talking to you about
hmm
James Baldwin is the
yeah, he's my favorite.
equivalent it's the equivalent to literally finding your favorite comfortable position with your favorite
Yeah,
blanket on a cloud.
yeah,
You
yeah,
talk so eloquently about
yeah.
like Baldwin and the dive. It like if for I knew of him,
Right.
but through my relationship with you, like dove.
Yeah,
And then it
yeah,
was like I couldn't wait to like bring up interviews, but like tell me about that.
yeah. Well, Baldwin was brilliant. He was a poetic man. He was revolutionary. He was highly intelligent. He was open. He was self-aware, and he was unafraid. You
Yeah,
know, like one of my favorite quotes of his is, "If I love you, I have to make you aware of the things that you cannot see." And just even when you think about that, like awakening that sort of thing in certain people, like you have to be courageous, like to be that person.
mm.
So there's
Hmm.
just there's so many things that James Baldwin was able to articulate that I've been thinking my whole life that I just didn't have words for. you know
Yeah,
so that's how I would just like really get lost in his work. Bell Hooks is another one. Like I would just get lost in their work because they were articulating my life, and they
hmm,
were also not, they were also giving solutions. Like they were giving comfort. They were giving like different perspectives, and he did that for me a lot.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
with your journey through finding these artists and these poets, did it help shape your Black experience in America?
Oh, for sure, man. Listen, these people were that. This is what they are.
Yeah.
Like Malcolm
It's
X.
like it's who they are, but I feel like we fall short of that as a social construct now.
Yeah, yeah, we do, and that's because these a lot of them have been systematically picked off. Like they've just been either killed through. Like Bell Hooks was super young. There's just no way. Like that was her death earlier this year was just a thing where I was just like, wow, I'm like profoundly sad because I'm like never gonna get a chance to meet her.
Yeah.
So and so whether it's the health or these people are being assassinated, like they just they've just been picked off. They're just gone. You know what I'm saying? And it's had a really it's been really impactful to the culture, right? Because we're losing all these great thinkers, these intellectual, open powerhouses. Like
Hmm.
we're losing them, and we're not able to fill the space or the void fast enough. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, it is impacting us at a cultural level in a massive way, man.
Yeah. I know like recently like with all of the shit that Kanye was like talking about and
Yeah,
just his like his mind, I was seeing a lot of your posts like it I always just feel like while I listen and I hear
yeah,
Kanye and
yeah,
his points, even when he talks about being a free thinker, he goes
yeah,
straight into the construct of religion.
yeah,
And that those two are always very tough with me when I'm talking to someone about like actually being
right,
a free thinker. So it's like
right.
when do you think that he's a thought like provoking person in like your
Um,
opinion? Like just
I,
of
I think I think in certain ways he is, but
mhm.
if we are
Agreed.
to be, yeah, in certain ways, like there's a couple of things about the Kanye West stuff, right? The first thing is that he's a creative genius. He's not an intellectual genius,
Yes,
you know,
I made a post of that
right?
saying to people, I was like, please stop calling him. He's like, he's actually in every sense of the word ignorant
Yeah,
to
he's an
not,
artistic,
yeah,
but when we talk
music
about
genius.
yeah, but when we talk about like intellectual or historical or like a really deep thinker, like no, like that's not his. And I don't, and to be fair, I don't think he's saying that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
I
like
think that that's one of the things also. Like, I think that he's taking full advantage of people putting him into those kind of boxes
right,
and spaces.
right. So it's and I don't know exactly what the thing is, but I also want to get back to what you said because there's two things about the religion, right? Um, most forms of Christianity practiced in this country don't leave room for free thought. You
100%.
see, you see what I mean? So it's like
A
it's almost
hundred
like
percent.
depending on the denomination, and yes, there are hundreds of them. You can't be a free thinker, like it's not possible, right? And second,
You're literally fed
yeah,
your life like color by number.
right, and second, you know, he he is taken on the archetype of a lot of the born again situations that we see around here. The way in which like they might put the savior, they might put his name on everything, and you're doing everything but respecting and loving and being graceful towards your neighbor. You know what I'm saying?
Everything but.
Everything but that. So you're seeing that at a really like a macro level with him. And to me, that's important, right? It's important that we have people with the spotlight on them, sort of demonstrating these characteristics, so that we can look in on our own lives. I can look at myself and say, okay, cool. Like, where am I like that? Or where are the people in my lives that sort of conduct themselves like that? And I don't do anything about it. Like I'm not as it's not as visceral as it is when he does it, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why it's important like
That's
that we
interesting.
look at
That's a very, very, very like good point.
yeah,
Because you
these
know, like it's
guys
like your literal circle will be complicit in like a lot of those things. And mind
oh a
you, it
lot.
literally goes in one ear and out the other. But a Kanye does it on such a huge scale, and it's complete like outrage. Like
It's
it's
outrage, dude. It's outrage. And I used to say this all the time. Anybody that's ever spent time with me in the last, few years, they'll tell you. I was like, yo, I know like 20 Trumps. Like what you and I'd be telling them, like, a Trump-ish kind of guy. And it's like, okay,
yeah.
what are we doing about that? Or you look at
I have a friend that I'm always questioning like their black experience. Just it's almost as if you don't blame a person for their upbringing. Like most
no,
of the stuff that really lingers in us, like a DNA, has been
yeah,
generationally embedded into us
right,
to the point where it's just like we have these conversations a lot of times with very little facts, just
right,
massive emotion of just how we
right.
feel. But
Massive.
I, yeah, I've had like several conversations with him, and a lot of his just presentation is white adjacent.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
it like so much of it. And I've never had an issue with that in people. It's
Hmm.
just that ironically, those people always find a way to somehow diminish another person's experience, and that person always happens to be a black person.
Right,
their
right.
their experience to them is always somehow less than, and it's worded eloquently, it's beautifully
Yeah,
worded,
yeah,
it's done so just magically and just
yeah.
sheepishly and very coy, but it exists.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Like
potent.
it
It's potent.
exists. And it's weird because a lot of times when I've had those conversations, and it's such a delicate, of course you would know it's delicate
Yes.
to talk because that person just is so oblivious, but never are they not somehow just shocked and offended by your observation.
Right. Right. That's typically that's the easy response that you're gonna
Yeah.
get, because you're challenging their identity, their accepted identity. And they're not letting that go easy.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not letting
What,
that
what
go.
so wait, so like why is the black Christian experience such a visceral chokehold, whereas though there is just nothing, there's just nothing outside of it, like even in the idea that for good to exist bad would have to exist, or the good of the two, you send me these but you also sent this. Why is that experience, do you think, like such a thing for us
Um,
as a
well,
people?
I think that like a lot of it is we can we can attribute a lot of it to lack of study. Like I always say, like there's a lot of ministers or preachers who shouldn't be in those positions, at all,
Yes.
right? So it's a lot of that. It's lack of study, lack of tolerance, and it's also that, like, as a culture, we are emerging as a people who is beginning to awaken to this concept of self-love. You know what I'm saying? And we're tracking towards it more and more as a people. But that's another conflict with the religion, because um, Christianity is that of self-sacrifice. This is why I don't identify as a Christian, because the leader is the archetype of self-sacrifice. The man
Mm,
literally gave up his life. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't think that that's my destiny here,
right.
to sort of
Not
kill
your
myself.
life's It's not your life's work
No, no, that's not my life work,
to bleed
So
for man.
yeah, so it's like we have to change the narrative, and it's hard, right? This is how some of our ancestors survived these brutal
Yeah,
plantations. Like
yeah,
this is how they survived. They passed along this like theological hope. There's this God in the sky, and they took what they could get. Books were outlawed, so they were being fed, some of the worst interpretations of the Bible, that a person could get, and that gets passed along
Yeah.
with generational trauma and abuse, and all these things, and you wrap that up, and you give it 200, 300, 400 years, and it's what we have right now, with the exception of a couple of people who are doing some really, like Michael Beckwith. You can check him out over there. Reverend Ike is one of my favorites, right? God bless him. Carlton Pearson, like these guys were the outliers for that sort of restrictive, controlling theology. So, we can attribute it to just slow evolution, Rick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Very slow. It's hard to let go.
It's hard to let go. One of my biggest things has always been that people use it against people.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's that part. I think that if people just absorb, because it's like, whatever your beliefs are and those kinds of things, it should just be bettering you every day, or that should be your practice. That should be, but it's the way that it's used on people.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not even just Christianity. That's just like religion as a whole. I remember, like, I was talking to you one day at the stoop, and you was like, you had told me something about like all of the world's wars being fought over religion.
Yeah.
And I was just so shocked by that, because I was like, wow.
Dude, we're here right now because of religion. It's like,
what,
if you want to. Well, so over the one of the popes, I think it's like Nicholas the Fourth or the Fifth, he signs this decree that you can explore land, and if you find that its inhabitants are not loyal to Jesus, then you can rape and pillage them. Right. So 50 years later, Columbus arrives here. So you can draw parallels to Roman Catholicism and the invasion of this land, and the eventual years of chattel slavery and the building of United States came from that one decree. So religion and the idea that everybody should believe this thing this way has been the basis for many wars. I mean, we know many of the denominations as we know them because of a warmonger, Constantine. Right? So all of these, war and Christianity are intimately woven, like they are hand in hand. So that can explain some of the aggression, even from the medieval times, like after the Savior departs, these Jews have to fight amongst each other for this new philosophy. So they were fighting, because Christianity was initially, it was in the synagogues. Like these were Jews arguing amongst each other, right? So they had to fight to try to legitimize the thing, because it was not Judaism, and it was not going to work if you lifted up this man as someone to worship, because according to the text, that's idolatry. Right? There's no God but God.
There's no there's
none of that. So it started out with that sort of aggression, or that needing to prove XYZ. And because you notice oftentimes in our experiences, sometimes we meet born again sort of religious folks, and they don't exactly approach you from a space of wanting to get to know you. You can sometimes get the approach that, well, I got a secret, I got this thing, I'm saved, and this is why you should do this. Forget about what you're doing. Like, that's wrong. Like, this is the thing. But you never really get, that sort of thing. Whereas in other belief systems, they are so Like they devoted their lives. Like they love this thing so much that they are very hesitant
They're like willing to
to,
die.
yeah, they're like super hesitant to extend that a little bit sometimes. Like they want to know more about you before they even open the door to the
But they
thing. So
welcome you.
right, right, and then you're in, you know. So I said all that to say, like, you know, it can feel like that, and there are ways to, like, we can look throughout history and see how, like, it ended up like that.
Mm.
But you know, obviously, we're talking in, you know, some of our experiences. There are some aspects of Christianity that are really beautiful, and there are some interpretations that are really, really, really just, you know, they just melt you, right? So yeah, part of my brotherhood that I'm involved with, it is a group of Christian mystics, and it is just they are some of the most beautiful brothers that I have ever encountered. They inspire me daily, you know, with their writings and their energy, you know.
Mm. With
Yeah.
how accurate, like listen to you talk about Judaism, how accurate was Kanye's depiction about black people and the Jewish religion?
Um. I mean, listen. There's some truth there, right?
Mm.
But the we run into problems, especially with these brothers. You know, there's a couple of things, right? Number one, when you talk about Semitic tribes, there were many of them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why are you zeroing in on that one tribe,
Hmm.
right?
It's almost as
That's
if
number
like
one.
that's the only one that you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just it's there's that's number one. Number two, if you're really serious about it, then you go and do what Amari Stoudemire did. Like he dealt with his ancestry. He said, "Oh wow, like this is something that I want to look into." He moved to Israel. He's studying the language. He has, you know, he's immersed
Doing the
himself
work.
in the culture. So if you're really concerned about that, go ahead and do that. I am one that had a Hebrew teacher for 3 years because I
Mm.
wanted to understand the Tanakh. I wanted to understand the Torah. I read Torah every 2 3 days, you know, and that's just recently. It used to be every single day, which I need to, you know, get back to. But so there's that, and then when you try to delegitimize people who are making the same claim, then that's problematic, you know. And I don't know what it is with a lot of these, I'm just going to say particularly brothers who are taking that route, whereas they're saying we're the real this, and it's like, no man, like you can express your belief system or your ancestral findings without trying
Mhm.
to delegitimize the
Yes, yeah,
people
yeah,
who are
yeah.
there. So that's what's
It's
problematic.
almost authoritarian.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, so what are you saying? Like these people are fake? Like, bro, stop. You know, like
Yeah,
you can get your point across without going there, you know, or trying to say somebody's not the real thing. That's
yeah.
crazy to me, you know. And a lot of my, you know, some of my closest friends are of the faith, and they're just like, yeah, I mean, look, you know, we might own his contracts, you know, we might have given him some deals that we should probably revisit,
We maybe.
right? We might have all this stuff. However, Ed, come on, man. You can't say DEFCON 3. Like,
Yeah,
you can't say stuff like that. That's not right. And I agree with them. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? But that's the idea. Now do I agree with a lot of these companies who are now taking advantage of the moment and
Right.
getting free marketing from just trying to destroy him? No. Some of these companies, we know what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm
It's
saying?
it's it's a little
And
obvious. It's
yeah,
a
yeah.
little
So do
obvious because it's like it's almost as if the lighter doesn't work on this trigger, but all of a sudden you come over here and it's just guns blazing.
yeah, yeah, dude. So a lot of that stuff, dude. I don't agree with that stuff, man. I think it's terrible what some of these people who we know don't traditionally, you know, actually care, are using as a marketing opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's a multi-layered sort of thing,
Yeah.
and you're
I
making
think
these statements.
every time something happens with him, it's always a multi-layered,
Yeah,
and it's like it it's so much information without actually really getting any. It's This,
You know?
it's just there's just no way to jump in, and it's just so gaslighting sometimes to me because it's like
Dude, it's
the people
really
that just
gaslighting.
jump in with no knowledge,
No,
so much knowledge.
no, no. It's like, why would you do that? Like, why would you ever know what you're talking
Right,
about?
right, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh my
Yeah, yeah,
God. Like, can we get
yeah,
shirts? Why
yeah.
would you
When you,
ever pretend that you know what you're talking about? And it's like, it kills me sometimes and a lot of times I'm not a commenter. Like,
yeah,
I can't
yeah,
be easily gaslit. I can usually
right,
sit from afar and know, but I'm just like, where would you even come up with that,
yeah.
like, thought? It just,
It's horrible. It's horrible.
yeah.
So it's one of those things where it is impacting us as a culture. Um, but it's also a thing where like we just have too many people talking at each other and not many people actually listening or
Nobody's,
attempting to, create this
nobody's
really,
listening.
really, yeah. So it's difficult, with a lot of these conversations, but I hear about them, as much as I allow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you have to put a cap on them. Like, honestly,
On most things.
with your diving into, is it the Torah?
Hmm.
The Torah. How do you compare the teachings between the Bible and the Torah?
So there is the Torah, the writings, the prophets, like those. That is what is. I'm gonna have to say this really. I'm gonna have to say this the right way. That is what is wrongly labeled the Old Testament, but really it is the Tanakh, right? So all of those books before they added the new covenant to them, which is like, the synoptics, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Paul's letters, and all the rest of that, Revelations. Everything before that is the Tanakh.
Hmm.
Okay. And that's these ancient scriptures, like we understand like authorship, and they've been circulating forever. So I tend to stay there. Okay. Because these were it's like a big poem,
Hmm.
and this is what was put in place to preserve, the relationship with God and the culture of the people. And there are some things that it's like I always say, the Bible is not about what happened. Like we don't have to look at it like a historical document, but it's about what's always happening. You know, it's
Hmm.
like we're in the Exodus right now. You know what I'm saying? Right? Cain and Abel, like that's always happening. You know what I'm
Yeah, yeah.
saying?
Wow, it just
Right?
happened. It just happened.
You see what I mean? It's rampant in a lot of our communities, right? Oh man, like I didn't do the same thing that you did, but I should get the same praise, right? I should get the same reward as you got. You don't deserve that, even though I did something totally different. Even though Spirit, God told me I could just go back and work a little harder and change the thing and get it, I still am mad at you. So I need to take that out on you. Like
I'm so mad.
Cain, dude, Cain and Abel is happening. It's always happening, dude. Whether it's brother to brother, or it's country to country, or whatever it is. Like we're always
Yeah.
seeing these things, and
The
that's
thing
why
that, yeah, like it's almost like the theory is always existing. I've
always,
never ever thought of it like that. In the
yeah.
idea that the Bible is actually a book of current events.
Oh, 100%. It's an everlasting, timeless work piece, masterpiece. It's timeless, dude. That's why to call it old is just disrespectful. That's anti-Semitic.
Does the Torah have that same break of like New Testament, Old Testament?
No, no,
It's just
no.
one book. How
Yeah.
how how it do you do you know the explanation of how we have a New and an Old Testament?
Well, the this was after Christ, so the the only letters we can really authenticate from the New Testament are half of Paul's letters, right? The synoptics, the main books, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and then there's the book of John. We don't know who those authors are. you know. So we had Paul's letters, we had those synoptics who gave the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? Notice gospel, which is good news, not autobiography, right? So
Mm.
that's another reason why, you know, I stay in the Torah as well. So when Christianity started to, you know, spread as it did, that the decision was made to put them all together, right? So because you don't have Christianity without Judaism, right? So even though, you know, many people don't really give as much love and attention to the Torah or the prophets or the writings, um, that's where the meat is for me. You know,
Mm.
that's where the biggest lessons are for me. So that's why I stay there. You know.
That's interesting. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's that's actually considered to me like free thought to
Yeah.
actually, because you're knowledgeable of both books and both practices, but you have to know that in order to go into the one that you know kind of suits your life and
Right.
things of that nature, like
Right. Right.
deeper.
That's it. You know, it's just it's really about being open. You know, I don't read books to reinforce what I already think already. You know, I read books to open up my perspective. Like
Mm.
I want to see things differently. I want to encounter some words that I probably didn't have for, you know, a thought that was or a feeling that was like swirling around in my mind. You know what I'm saying? But so I couldn't read, you know, the Bible that way, right? There's so much. It's like there's so much insight. As the rabbi says that um, every time a righteous one creates a new interpretation, he opens up a new heaven. You know,
Mm.
so that's what I'm sort of looking for, and I find that for me at this stage in my life, the Torah and Genesis specifically, and Exodus culturally do that for me.
Mm. That's very
Yeah,
interesting. And what would that religion is considered? What is it called? Is it
that's Judaism.
Judaism? Right.
Yeah, yeah, that's Judaism, and that's what the Savior was. Jesus was Jewish.
Hmm.
So that's and also his disciples. So and that's what I said early on in the conversation. I was like, these were Jews arguing amongst each other
Right.
about Christianity. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I was like when I was listening to a lot of the conversations that were circling around that, and then as people were spinning, I was just like, it was almost like fogging my brain up in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
That was like, it just sounded so confusing, and I couldn't wait because I was like, oh my god, when I talk to Ed, like I'm sure that.
Yeah, it's crazy, and we're missing even with Kanye, right? This is another reason why this conversation is really important with him, is because he's also demonstrating how, you know, most forms of Christianity are inherently anti-Semitic, right?
Mm.
So it's yeah, so there are many forms that of Christianity that are inherently
That's
anti-Semitic.
that's like super 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 deep.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's inherent. Everybody knows. I mean, you
I
open
know,
up the thing and
everybody doesn't know. Like I talked, like I said, when I talk to you, I'm like this, like
yeah,
literally,
yeah.
like taking all it. And I want to know. I want to actually know more about that. And
Yeah, so
hold on, no, no,
mhm.
no. Like, but we have to take one break. I always
Oh,
take
all
a
right,
break
that's
for
that's
sponsors. Sponsors. It's only because IG lets it go for an hour. So I
uh-huh.
go, we save this, and then I add you back in like less than 2 minutes.
Oh,
All right, so we'll be
fantastic.
right back with Ed Napper.